Hey guys, today I'm making my double chocolate chip cookies. These are by far my favorite cupcakes to make at home. One, they're incredibly easy to put together, and two, they are absolutely decadent and delicious and chocolatey, and they are divine. These are kind of like a bakery style cupcake. They're dense, they're fudgy, they're chocolatey, and light and fluffy at the same time. They are beyond perfection. In a bowl here, I have some cane sugar. You can use granulated sugar if you want, but I am using pure cane sugar, and I have popped 1 stick of butter in the microwave till it's melted. I'm going to add my melted butter to my sugar. One of my favorite things about this cupcake is how easy it is. A lot of my cupcake recipes or anything like that, I usually do a lot of creaming the butter and the sugar together to give it a light and fluffy texture. I don't really do that with this recipe, but because of how it's made, it still has that really great light and fluffy texture. We're just going to mix this until combined, and it takes about a minute or so, 45 seconds to a minute. Just to incorporate that together. I love that I don't have to pull out the mixer for this, whether it's a hand mixer or the stand mixer, to cream together any butter or sugar. It's just 1, 2, 3, and pretty much okay. You can go a little bit longer if you want, up to a minute. Gonna add my vanilla. I like to go a little bit heavy on my vanilla, so I add about a tablespoon. Gonna stir that in. And even just after, less than a minute or so, this is already so smooth and beautiful. I am exhausted today. Don't know why. But that is the story of my life these days. Now we're gonna add in our eggs one at a time. So we're gonna need 2 large eggs for this. We're going to mix this in one at a time. My oven is also preheated to 350 degrees. Now into the bowl that I had my butter and that I popped into the microwave, I'm going to add in some chocolate chips. This is a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, and this is what's going to give this cupcake such amazing flavor, as well as the texture is going to be just out of this world. To that, I'm going to add in some heavy cream, a 1/2 cup of heavy cream. I'm going to pop this in the microwave, and we want to heat this up just for about 30 seconds to 45 seconds until the chocolate chips start to melt. Make sure all the chocolate chips are covered, and I'm going to pop this into my microwave for about 30 to 45 seconds until it gets warm enough, and then we're just going to let it sit there and melt throughout. And while that is mixing, let's move over to our, can't speak today. It's just, while that is while that's in the microwave, let's move over to our dry ingredients. I have some all-purpose flour here, and to that I'm going to add in some baking powder. Now, another reason why I love this recipe so much is because I am just using regular all-purpose flour and baking powder, and that's pretty much it. A lot of times with my cupcakes and cakes, I use cake flour, which means I have one extra thing to pull out, and that's not always fun to measure when you have a small box. So another reason why I love this so much is just regular all-purpose flour, and you still get a light, fluffy cupcake. Okay, that's done. This is done, and this is done. So the flour is sifted. I'm gonna let this sit here now. I want those chocolate chips to melt. Let it sit for about a minute. All right, so we've let that sit for a while. I'm just gonna go ahead and stir this in and mix together all of that chocolate chips until it's fully melted. had this melted in there, now we're going to add our cocoa powder. You're going to need a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. Now I am using Dutch processed cocoa powder. That's really the only type of cocoa powder that I use. Just gonna roughly measure this out. And usually you can find the Ghirardelli Dutch processed cocoa powder at most grocery stores. And it's not expensive. It's a great price. I think it's like $4 for that. We're gonna add in our 1/2 cup of cocoa powder to our little ganache that we sort of made there. And also, if you don't have Dutch process, just go ahead and use regular cocoa powder. That would be fine. Oh my gosh, this is gonna smell so good right now. You can already see that consistency is looking like a brownie. This is what I love about it so much. It's kind of like the cross between a brownie, a cake. It is fantastic. Truly my favorite cupcake. Hands down. I do have a lot of favorites, but this one tops my favorite cupcakes. All right, that is perfectly mixed in. I did not sift my cocoa powder. You can if you want to, but I usually don't when I'm making this recipe, that is. All right. Now you want to make sure that this is not scalding hot, and it shouldn't be. You just want it to be warmed in the microwave. We're gonna add our cocoa and all that stuff to our butter and eggs. If you can smell the goodness, that is this chocolate right now, because it's got that chocolate chips. I am using semi-sweet chocolate chips, by the way, and that's what you want to use. I don't recommend milk chocolate. It's going to be too sweet, and I don't recommend bittersweet unless that's what you want, but definitely not milk chocolate. Gonna mix that in, and look at that. I mean, can we just? Because I can't. I've made this so many times, and I do make this so many times because it's so easy. It's just like pop a few things together. It takes like 15 minutes for me to put this together, and I'm just in love with it so much. There goes my light. Oh, there it goes back again. We have technical difficulties here. Technical difficulties. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and mix together our wet and our dry. Wowzers. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous goodness. Now we're gonna mix this in, and you wanna mix this in for about 30 seconds or so. You don't wanna overmix it, obviously, but you don't want to undermix it either. You wanna make sure that all of your wet and dry are combined. And that's going to take at least 30 seconds. Do you see this? Watch that right now. That is perfection in a bowl right there, guys. Perfection in a bowl. I kid you not. I kid you not. That looks like an amazing brownie batter, but it's not. I keep hitting my camera. All right, so I've mixed this in for about 30 seconds. It is fully combined. We are not complete yet. We are going to add in a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. Semi-sweet chocolate chips again. I usually like to use Ghirardelli's brand. Well, you know what? I have a 3/4 cup here. I'm just going to add that in. No one's going to complain about a little bit of extra ooey gooiness in the center. And that's what the chocolate chips do. They melt into the cupcake. I'm just going to fold this in. They melt into the center of the cupcake, giving it like a ooey gooey bite, kind of like if you were eating a chocolate chip cookie. And can we just look at this for a second? I mean, I just can't. It's just such a blessing. It's so good. All right. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees. I have my cupcake tray here with my cupcake liners. I typically use my, what's the thing called? It is called what is it called? My ice cream scoop for this. It broke, yes. And then I went and ordered another one. And it came today. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to make this recipe. I'm going to just share this with you guys because this is another great time of year to make this, because who doesn't like chocolate around the holidays? And it came today, and the one that I received was broken. So thank you, Walmart. Again, thank you. I mean, like, whatever. Let's not get into that. It's just, it is what it is. I need to figure out what I'm going to use to scoop this up with now. An ice cream scoop makes it super easy and clean to scoop this in, but I'm just going to use my measuring cup here, and this might be too big, but we will make do with what we have. Do you?
Yes, close your eyes.
Oh boy. I may just switch over to a spoon.
Wow,
good job, honey. Oh, this is too big. Thanks, Walmart. Make this as even as possible. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees. You want your cupcake liners about a half to 3/4 way full. Honestly, the batter is like a soft fudge. That's the batter. The batter is kind of like a soft fudge batter, which I can't even describe it. It's so good. Oh my gosh. Just pat it down. I mean, it's a thick batter. Just give it a little pat so everything's kind of settled in there. It's a thick batter, so it's not going to move around too much. It's definitely not a runny chocolate batter. I'm going to pop this into my oven at 350 for about 23 to 25 minutes. You do not want to overbake these. You don't want to go over 25 minutes at all if you're using a regular size muffin tray, because you want this to be ooey gooey with the chocolate chips in the center. You definitely don't want to overbake them. I'm going to pop this in the oven again for about 23 minutes, and I'll see you guys back when it is done. Alright, these gorgeous cupcakes are out of the oven. I'm just going to wait for them to cool a little bit before I show you what inside of it is. But you can see there's chocolate chips running throughout this. We didn't dust those chocolate chips with flour, but they're still going to be running throughout all of the cupcakes, and they're going to be melting in your mouth as you take a bite. It's going to be fantastic. Alright, so I just took a bite into one, and oh my goodness gracious me. Can we just? Because again, I can't. It is super, it's fluffy on the inside, but it's kind of like a brownie. You see the chunks of chocolate chips? The chocolate chips are running through it, so as you bite into it, you're getting like this ooey gooey fudgy center. It is everything I want and more in a chocolate cupcake. It's like a cross between a brownie and a cupcake. There's even a little bit of that crunchy top. It is delicious. I hope that you give it a try. It's super easy. You probably have all of these ingredients on hand, and it's just the best chocolate chip cookie. Chocolate chip, not cookie, but it's just the best.